welcome to the Start Your Fashion Brand class. I'm just trying to switch on the live for Instagram also. My name is Kwabna Opon Boating. Welcome to our first class. And this class is a class to kind of help you set up a brand. If you've always wanted to set up a clothing brand, you've always wanted to, be a designer, clothing designer, or start something of this nature, well, this is the class for you. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll get right into the class as to what the class is about. So, as I mentioned earlier, my name is Kwabna Boating. I've been doing making t-shirts, African-inspired t-shirts, designing African-inspired t-shirts for 11 years. In 2008 is when I started this. The guys joined on Instagram. If you like to see maybe pictures of what I'm talking about and the course stuff, you can join on YouTube at youtube.com/KOBGH. If not, it's fine. So in 2008, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to start doing. I love clothing, and I always dreamt of designing my own brand or my own T-shirts. So I used to copy what I saw: Nike Ticks, Carl Kanai, all that kind of stuff. So I used to copy it when I was younger, and as I grew up, I ended up studying politics and sociology and not really doing what I wanted to do, which was design stuff. So in 2008, after I had finished my clothing brand, after I finished my degree in politics and sociology, and I had some time off from school, I decided to start a clothing brand. And prior to that, when I was in school, I tried little things like customization. Back in 2003, customization was a big deal. So I would customize t-shirts, hand paint t-shirts, just do creative stuff and try and sell it to my friends. And so when I had time in 2008, I had moved from the UK to Ghana, and I decided to start this thing that I was passionate about. So how did I do this? So I one, learned a lot by reading online. Two, I found communities online that people that like stuff like that I liked. So the streetwear community, the customization community, and then I just used. I don't think YouTube was as big at that time, but you could still go on YouTube. You had platforms like Creative Arts that you'd go to and you could learn how to do graphic design. So bear in mind, I had no background in design whatsoever. All I really knew how to do was draw a little bit, and I could draw a little bit, and then I could, draw a little bit, and then, just nothing. I didn't know how to use Photoshop or anything at all. So how did I go about this? If you are following us on the YouTube, I'll show you some of the first things that we did. Our first lookbook, if you're on YouTube. But basically, I taught myself how to design. I taught myself what to look for, and I taught myself what to look for. Sorry, I just got a bit distracted from the video. I taught myself what to look for in good design. I taught myself, what are other people looking for? What are brands looking for? When it comes to designing things, what do people want? What would my friends want, and what would I want? So when I was starting, the first thing that jumped to me was that in 2008 there were not a lot of brands that were representing myself. African or Ghanaian who had lived in Ghana, and hi guys on Instagram, who had lived in Ghana and lived elsewhere, a Ghanaian who wanted clothing that represented them, a young Ghanaian at that time, who wanted some clothes that represented them, that really told a story, but that was in cliche. And what I mean by a story that was in cliche was that when I was younger, most of the brands that were there that represented Africa, so were just like red, gold, green, Bob Marley. It was all kind of like Black Power type t-shirts, and I wanted something that was cool, but at the same time could tell a story. It was cool, but it was African, but it was still international. So African roots kind of thing and global reach. So that was the idea behind KOB. So if you were following us on YouTube, you'll be able to see our first lookbook and the story behind why we started this brand. There's this book called Always Start with Why, and the idea of always start with why is really important because if you haven't got a reason for starting a brand, then don't start the brand. There's no point because if you need to know who you're starting the brand for, you need to know why you're starting the brand, and you obviously need to know what the brand is going to do. Who's going to be interested? Kalab, what's up? I'm just saying what's up to all the guys. Kalab is one of the people also in the space that I used to watch before. He was involved with t-shirts and stuff. So as I mentioned, I looked at a lot of brands that were doing things, and I looked at what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was to be able to have an African-inspired brand that was relevant to Africans but would reach people, masses who are not African. An African-inspired brand that was cool and wasn't corny. So we started KOB, and KOB, the name KAYOBI, it just means Tuesday in Japanese, and my name is Kwabna. Kwabna means I was born on Tuesday in the Ashanti or Akan tradition. But in reality, I actually was not born on Tuesday. I was actually born on I was actually born on a Thursday, but I was named after my dad who was born on a Tuesday. Actually, he born on a Sunday, but was named after somebody also born on a Tuesday. I know it's confusing, but basically, it's Tuesday born, and so that's what KOB means, and that's how we got the name for the brand. It's why Japanese. I like Japanese design, and from the onset, I wanted the brand not to be pigeonholed as strictly an African brand. I wanted it to be international. So your intent for starting a brand or the idea you have for starting a brand or a company, you should have global aspirations. You should think big. So that's how come we came up with that name, a name which was quite global. And if you look at our mission statement, it says KOB, an apparel and accessories company created to tell the African story and that of the diaspora through positive, vibrant, and thought-provoking imagery. So that's why we went with that kind of name. And you might be like starting now, you might be thinking about starting your brand now, you might be wondering, what kind of name should I use? We also chose a very short name because if you look at the major brands in the world, the brands that stand out, they all have like really short names. Gucci, Armani, Fendi, Adidas, Nike, Reebok. All these brands have really, really simple, straightforward names. It's not complicated. So if you're starting a brand, be it a clothing brand or any other brand, I would suggest that start with a simple name. Start with a name that everybody can really get into it. The guys who are on Instagram, if you want to follow the slides, you can join us on YouTube or you can just follow here. Thanks for joining. So brand names are really important. So in 2008, in August 2008, we started KOB with this t-shirt idea, and we hope to build it big. We've done it for 11 years. We've had some good stuff and we had some really bad stuff. And the idea of this class is to really help you, if you're about to start, is to help you, start and then learn from our mistakes, the mistakes that we made, and then really be able to grow faster than we grew. And so if you've got any questions if you've got any questions on how to start, you can just put them in the comments or send the questions here. So that was the idea behind the brand. Do something that was African, do something that was really cool, do something that was international, do something that people could connect to. And when we were starting, we were scared, obviously, like anything that you're starting, you'll be scared. Even with this class today, I was scared because I was like, okay, what if nobody comes in the class? What if it's not interesting? What if it's not relevant? So we started with very little money. I think I had 100 CDs at that time, which will equate to I think about £15 or 100 CDs is about, I think, $20 now. And then I remember one of my uncles gave me, after I started, he blessed me with $100 to start. But the main thing with starting the brand is the idea. It's, you obviously start with the why. Why am I starting this? And then secondly, what idea do I have? And then you have to transition it from being an idea into a physical product, and then eventually you would sell the product. So if you look at on our YouTube now, we're just showing some pictures of the brand. Our first T-shirts. The first one was like an African-inspired T-shirt that had guns that were cut up, and then we had this T-shirt, which is the Make Fufu No War T-shirt that we did, and then we had other T-shirts with like a little kid pushing the tire, and the little kids pushing the tire thing was like taking nostalgia. It was like taking things that were from our childhood. So when you're starting a brand, I'll always say start with what you have. Start with what is in your hand. Start with what is common to you or something that could relate to other people. So those are some of the things that we looked at for the first design inspirations. Yeah. So everything comes from where do these ideas or where do these designs or come from? For me personally, it's things like you might think about dream something. Isaac, thanks for joining on YouTube. Um, you might think something, see something in the dream. You might be inspired by seeing something somebody's wearing. You might be inspired by um, just childhood games, video games. It could be slogans. It could be movies. It could be anything. The things that would inspire you. It could be from anywhere. So I would say inspiration can come from anywhere, and just be open minded about what you're doing. Be open minded about your design process and what you're gonna do. And over the next few days, I'll be helping you come up with these ideas, come up with how to transition it from just being an idea into an actual product. So I'm just showing more of the pictures online for the some of the first designs and our first photo booth, photo shoot, photo shoot that we did for KOB, and you can do this too. I mean, you could start a brand today. We all know it's really difficult right now with the whole coronavirus and everything that is going on, and this class is to just help you do something whilst you're waiting. It doesn't have to be a clothing brand. It could be any kind of brand, but the principles are the same. A good idea, an idea that is relevant to people, an idea that connects to people, an idea that brings some value, and something that would people would appreciate. So if your idea, be a t-shirt brand, bag brand, shoe brand, or even just a pencil case brand. It could be even a kid's bag brand, a kid's bag brand. If that idea doesn't translate or connect with real people, you're in trouble. So I would say look for something that can connect to people and is relevant to people. So if these are some of the things that we did. We looked at things that made sense to our environment. So images like the African woman with a child on her back, in t-shirts like "Make Fufu Not War." The idea behind a t-shirt like "Make Fufu Not War," which is what I'm wearing now. "Make Fufu Not War" is our biggest seller ever. It's also our most copied t-shirt. Everybody copies this t-shirt. Like people always bootleg it. If you go to the art center in Ghana, people have bootlegged it. I've had designers from Sweden try to copy it. I've had designers all over the world try to copy this design, and it's not a new idea. Basically, there's something called stealing wisely, and that's basically all I did. I wanted to design something that had African roots but a global reach. In the hippie days in the 70s, you had the whole slogan for "Make love, not war." And then we have a designer called Johnny Cupcakes, who's quite famous for t-shirts. He had a design called make cupcakes, not war. And so when I decided to make Fufu Not War, which I think was my third or fourth design, the um, the idea I took the idea which was already there, and then I Africanized it. So make love not war, make cupcakes not war, make fufu not war, and then I took a carving. I found a design of a carving online, and then I used that as the centerpiece, and I put it in there. So ideas are not necessarily always new. If you look at let's say between Apple and Samsung, two brands that are always competing, Samsung kind of steals a lot from Apple, and Apple also kind of steals a lot from Samsung. Samsung kind of steals more the design aesthetic from Apple, and then Apple steals a lot of the technology from Samsung. And so I would say if you're starting a brand or you're on this journey, don't think that you need to always be 1,000% original. I think you could always start something and take some ideas, but don't be too Ghanaian or African where you copy blindly. You always see a lot of brands where people just take everything from one brand, they just copy exactly what one brand did, and they don't add any innovation. They don't add any new flavor. They don't change anything. It's just copying blindly, and that's just wrong. I'd say copy wisely. Steal wisely. Picasso stole, all designers steal. Everybody steals ideas, and ideas are like spirits. You're sitting there today and you're saying, I want to start this clothing brand, I want to start this bag brand, I want to start designing. The idea that you have is not going to be exclusive to you. There's somebody else around the world also, and that idea has just come to them. As I mean, ideas are like spirits, they move around. So if you've got an idea today, as we start in this class, I'd like you to take a note and just put it down and put down the idea. So what is the class going to be like over the next few days? The class is going to be on YouTube. That's the main platform for the class. We're going to show slides over there. If you go to the YouTube page or if you signed up, you will get the course document. So there's a whole book I sent out, and the book tells you how to start the brand. I'm not going to be reading out this book to you. I'm going to take little bits of the book, and then I'm going to share my experiences, what I learned, my failures, and how you can be better than me. And then the onus is on you to take the book and also read when you're not we're not like, oh, thanks for joining Kweku Ofori, thanks for joining Isaac. If you join in on YouTube, say hi, tell us where you're joining from. If you join in on Instagram, just say hi and tell us where you're joining from. So yeah, I sent you guys that book. I also sent a book on fashion marketing. I also sent some press releases that I sent, like lookbooks I sent, to give you an idea of what a lookbook looks like. A lookbook is just a presentation you give out for a brand. And then I also, I believe I sent a few other things. So today we're just going to do an overview of my story. Why stories? Because branding and design and fashion design is all about stories. You've got the fashion bit, which is more the creativity bit, taking an idea from a dream, an idea from God, an idea from seeing things, an idea from society, an idea from somebody else, and then transition it into a physical product. So that's the fashion bit. Now that component requires so many other things. That thing is important because fashion designers or creative people, you're like magicians. You need to be able to think of something which is in the future that people would want in the future. That's one. Two, you need to be able to pull that idea from it being something in your mind onto paper, where you probably draw it out and design it out. And then after you put it on paper, you need to turn it into a physical product, which means you need to learn how to design it on the computer, learn how to cut it into patterns, learn how to sew it, or get somebody to do it for you. After that, you need to learn how to sell it. So you need to know marketing. You need to know sales, because marketing and sales are two different things. If I'm talking too quickly, let me know so I slow down. So you need to know marketing and sales. You need to be able to learn accounting. You need to know your numbers. I was horrible at school in school in maths. I was really horrible in maths, but after starting the clothing brand and also running a digital marketing agency and doing other kinds of business, I've had to learn how to do my numbers. If you can't do your numbers, it might be a bit difficult for you to do business, or you can pay somebody to do it for you. So yeah, um, as I mentioned, fashion designers or people who are into creativity or people who have a brand, you're magicians. You have to learn every single thing in the value chain. You have to learn logistics because once you design the product, you need to be able to, sell that product. What's up, Kojo? Kojo in South Africa, and Kojo, my brother. Thanks for joining. If you would like to see like slides and stuff, we'll put them on YouTube. The class will go on for maybe 2 weeks or more. So yeah, fashion designers are magicians. Pull an idea from the sky, put it onto paper, probably put it onto the computer, get some technical bits of cutting it, drawing it, designing it, printing it, or sewing it, marketing it, getting it to be sold, creating an experiences. We're not selling t-shirts, we're not selling bags, we're not selling phones, we're selling experiences. When you buy an iPhone and you open it for the first time, there's no reason why Apple has to put plastic on it, but they will put plastic on it because they need to create suspense. When you open your Instagram, it takes a few seconds before it goes in. All of that stuff is psychological, it's intentional because it lets you wait so that it builds up anticipation. So you tear the plastic of it, and then it takes a while to pull it. All of that is intentional. I have not bought, when you're buying Gucci and these brands, the packaging is all important. It's intentional. Logistics. Why would a brand have a retail space and or only and not maybe be online? Why would a brand sell certain things and not be online? So over the next 2 weeks, I'll be teaching you all these little things on how you position your brand, how you build your logistics, how you build your audience. Because without an audience or without really connecting with people, then your brand will just be selling clothes. There'll be no connection. You could buy a t-shirt from anybody, but a brand that has a connection with people, it sells itself. People would want your t-shirt. People would want to copy your t-shirt and bootleg your t-shirt. If this slogan didn't connect with people, then nobody will copy it and sell it in the art center in Accra and sell the fakes. If your brand couldn't tell a story, nobody would want to wear it because it doesn't connect with them. So that's why certain brands do well. When you hear of Nike, you don't think about sports. You think about excellence. You think about execution. You think about being greater. You think about just doing it. And so those are some of the things that we'll be thinking about and doing over the 2 weeks. So as I mentioned, we would like the classes to be interactive. If you've got questions and answers, you can let us know. So on YouTube, we have Kweku joining from, Kweku said artist steal, facts. Ajimine joining from Accra. Kweku is joining, I don't know where Kweku is joining from. The DMV, yeah. Yeah, Ejewa watching from the UK, and Ekria Boateng joining from Accra. Thanks for joining, guys. Share it, share it to your friends, share the stream. So yeah, so YouTube guys, I'm gonna show you, as we were talking about the story, how do you start? I'm gonna show you one of like my Facebook page. So when we started 2008, we started with one design. We went to somebody who printed for us. When you start, and you might not be able to do everything yourself. I self-taught myself how to graphic design. I had no background in design whatsoever, apart from what I used to do when I was a kid. I used to draw cartoons from the newspaper. Now, what I did was I looked for YouTube. I'm just gonna switch this for you guys. So what I did was I looked for people who could help me do what I wanted to do. So for example, I wanted to start designing t-shirts. So I went online and I looked at websites that I could learn the design from. I found out that I had to use Photoshop and Illustrator. So I found articles and things of that nature online where I could, I could copy those articles online. and that was the idea that I took. If you guys just wait 1 second, I'm just gonna quickly set up the web design, the website for the guys on YouTube. Yeah. So you have you're looking for, sorry, uh you're looking for you're looking to start and you haven't got the skill set, or you haven't got okay, I got that sorted. Sorry guys, it's just very new for me, so I'm just trying to get used to all of this. So you want to start this t-shirt idea. All you have is an idea. First thing I'll say you should do is to look for your inspiration. What is this idea about, and who's gonna be interested in this idea? Secondly, how are you gonna bring this to life? Free tutorials. That's what I did. I learned how to learn Photoshop through YouTube. I learned how to use Illustrator through YouTube. Our first logo, I hand drew it, and then I got an architect to vectorize. Vectorizing is just like 10 digitizing, but the guy charged me like quite a bit of money, and that was painful for me. And since they charged me that money, I was like, no, I need to figure out how to do this for myself so that somebody else doesn't charge me a lot of money. So that was what I did. I simply learned how to do it myself. Now, if you're on YouTube, you'd see that all of this is a journey. Some of the old designs looked a certain way, and as time goes, you improve. You improve. So I learned Photoshop. I learned Illustrator. I learned a bit about sewing. I learned how to find where do I find these t-shirts from? Where to import t-shirts from? I learned a lot about how to screen print. I bought books on screen printing because that's how you get these designs on. I learned about pattern cutting, but one thing I could tell you is that every single thing you need to learn about how to create a fashion brand, be it t-shirts, shoes, bags, every single thing you need to learn is online. Everything is online. So don't worry about how you're going to learn, and I'm here to help you on that journey. So just before we go on, I'm just gonna pause for questions because I think I've been talking for uh, 30 minutes or so, and if you guys have got any questions, let me know. So when you guys sent in the forms online, a lot of you guys, I think we got about 57 people sending in, signing up, and a lot of you have had questions about, what to do. I'm going to go through some of the questions, and if any of these questions, if any of these, like, just ask me any question, because the class is going to be, classes, I should stop saying I think I'm a bit nervous. I just need to calm down. The class is going to be based on your questions. The class is going to be based on your needs. The class is going to be based on what you need, and it's a way of me giving back to me building my community, and then also seeing how I can also get my brand to meet new audiences. So as I'm teaching you, I'm also trying to do new things to get my brand to connect. And I'll always be talking about connection. I'll be talking about communication a lot. I'll be talking about a lot of digital stuff, because when I'm not making t-shirts, I run a digital marketing agency, and everything that we're going to do online, do for a fashion brand today, it's all digital. So questions, send in your questions. Let's see. But before you guys online on YouTube and you guys on Instagram send your questions, I'm going to just go through some of the things people wanted to know. People said how to brand clothes. So tomorrow's class, we're gonna do a little session. We're gonna do a session on how to create your brand. We're gonna do it's like a branding. Sorry about that. We're gonna do a branding sprint, and that branding sprint will help you how to create your brand. So that's the first thing that we'll do tomorrow. And then somebody wants to know everything that is needed to be known in the industry. You're not gonna know everything in the industry within these tools I'm gonna teach you, but you're gonna have the right tools to start. So that's one. The guys on YouTube, how's the video? How's the video on YouTube? So yeah, and Twitter, how to Kwame. what inspires you during your creative process? I'm going to answer that. So somebody wanted to know, so best places to print t-shirts, how effectively to market. The best places to print t-shirts with myself. First, I found a local printer in Ghana. When I moved to the UK, I found a printer in the UK, and then I also learned how to print myself on my table by myself, and then eventually I bought machinery. I think one of these days we're gonna do a class in my studio here in my house, and then the studio where we print. So we print it here in Ghana now. Um, so another person wanted to know how to start a clothing brand. That's what the class is about. Somebody wanted to know about branding. Somebody wanted to know about um, how to create a business. So if you signed, hi Indiana Joanna. She's one of our biggest customers from back in the day. She used to really support us from Germany. What's up? So yeah, I digress. So the questions, I'm going through the questions that you guys sent me. Somebody wanted to know how to create a business. First thing is start. You have to start. Start, make mistakes, break things, and then see how it goes. So I sent a document if you signed up to the Dropbox where it shows you how it goes through the processes of starting a business. Someone wanted to know, can you use how much capital do you need to start a business? I think you can start a business without money or very little money, but money is very key if you want to grow. And I would say that if you start, the money will come. It's not as easy as it is, but yeah, if you start, the money will come. Other people who are waiting for you to create that amazing product or service will eventually find you. And if the product you are given or the service you are given brings value, they will exchange value, they'll exchange money for that value. So if the design of the bag, the t shirt, the shoe, or even the phone you're creating is, filling, a void for somebody else, they will give you money for it. Thanks for joining, Kwame from London. Thanks for joining, Kobe. So someone also wanted to know stock inventory. Yeah, stock inventory. We'll do all that kind of stuff. Dressmaking. I'm not a designer in the sense of dressmaking and pattern cutting, but I spent some time under legendary Ghanaian designer Kofi Ansah. And sorry about these notifications. I'm getting these notifications on my Instagram. Let me just put them off. So yeah, I spent some time under that legendary designer, and when I was in there, I learned a little bit about pattern cutting and designing proper clothes. T-shirts are just already made, and you print on it, and then you push the brand out. But with like real designing, like shirts and clothing, you need to have a bit of an idea about pattern cutting and things of that nature. Okay, so someone also wanted to know about how to create a niche clothing business. Creating a niche for your brand is very important. With Kobe, we had a niche. We wanted to do African inspired t-shirts or African streetwear or African t-shirts with a twist. African t-shirts that somebody, oh my gosh, these notifications, I'm so sorry. This thing is just going crazy. Guys on Instagram, I'm gonna pause you for a second whilst I sort out these notifications. Sorry about that. And then guys on YouTube, just please bear with me whilst I sort this out. Okay, sorry about that. I sorted it out. Sorted out the notification. Cool. Okay, so yeah, as we're talking about, like, the brand, getting the brand from the idea to doing the logistics to learn how to market and all these things, like all that stuff is really important. And over the next few days, we're gonna look at all these things. So, guys on YouTube, someone wanted to know So like, how were you in 2008? I have a passion, but I'm not a fashion designer or artist yet. In 2008, I was a graduate from the University of London with a degree in politics and sociology. I had spent some months working in Parliament in the UK. I had worked in the civil service in the UK for I think 7 months. I was I think 25 years old, and I was really really excited about moving to Ghana and doing something for Africa. You know, I was very very young and naive, and all I wanted to do was do something cool for Africa. So I moved back to Ghana, and my mom, who was working had a shop in Makola, which is like the central market district, selling sewing accessories, was like, look, you have to go sit at the shop, help me out, you know. And I'm like, I want to sit in the shop. I've done it before when I was younger, and but I want to be sitting at home and designing. She's like, what? She's like, no, you're gonna go and work in the foreign affairs. You know, we're gonna help you get in the foreign affairs. You like politics, but help me in the shop. So when I was at the shop, I started coming up with these ideas. I was in the shop for I think 7 months, and after 7 months, I was like I can't do this anymore, and then I started went home and started learning how to design by myself through articles and tutorials online. Now, in hindsight, being working in the retail shop and selling sewing accessories really got me to learn a little bit about little things that people come to buy for fashion, and then two, it got me to learn how to manage money. It got me to learn how to, you know, where supply, how to get things to supply and things of that nature. So I had a lot of passion. So yeah, passion is important. And he says, I'm not a fashion designer yet or an artist. Everyone is an artist. Everyone is a fashion designer. I'm a Christian, so I believe that you know I'm a creator because God created me and God is a creator. So everyone is a creator. Um, you know, having the tag of a fashion designer or stuff, you know, some people go, oh yeah, you need to go to Parsons, you need to go to London School of Fashion, you need to go to all these places. But I personally believe that you can, if you're good, you can do these things. When I was starting, I was in the UK. I was a bit confused. I had a friend who was in London School of Fashion. She took me on. She also gave me some pointers, just like what I'm doing today. So everyone is a designer, in my opinion. If you look at people like Virgil at Louis Vuitton, who is a Ghanaian, he's not going to any fashion school, but hey, he's heading Louis Vuitton. So you know, Kanye didn't go to fashion school, but he's heading Louis Vuitton. So yeah, have passion, but know that you cannot eat passion. You know, passion has to be transformed to profit. You know, passion has to be transformed to profit. So the outcome should be income. You know, so I think we'll do some things about passion, you know, profit, positioning, people, all those things. I have the system that I'm gonna share with you. I think maybe on the third day. All these things, you know, are really, really important when it comes. So Isaac, I hope that answers your question. How to take that leap of faith, knowing that you have the right quality and be able to find a market. You're never gonna feel that you are ready. You know, we have this thing called the imposter mentality, where when you're in an industry or you're doing something, you always second guess yourself and think, oh, am I supposed to be here? Oh, am I good enough? Or do I have the tag of a designer? And I always felt like that. I've never done a fashion show in Ghana. I've done fashion shows in the UK. I've done fashion shows in New York. I've sent t-shirts, I've sold t-shirts in Latvia, Japan. But in my own country, I always felt maybe scared or like, you know, just like it's only a t-shirt brand or a streetwear brand. But those are some of the mistakes that I made that I wouldn't want you to make. I'd say be confident in what you're doing, especially if you're young. If you're like under 25 or you know you don't have any responsibilities, you're not married, you don't have kids, you don't have no loans. I'd say do it because when you're creating and you don't put the limits of fear or the limits of failure before or the limits of thinking about money or profit. You design from your heart. You do something that is authentic, and people will connect with that authentic design as opposed to doing something strictly with the motive of making money. Yo, Instagram guys, you guys are quiet. Send some questions. So yeah, YouTube. So I hope that answers your questions, Isaac. Kweku, how did you target your audience and who who to market to, and how did you start the process? So I'm gonna go back to our first lookbook, and then I'm gonna show you guys on the lookbook like what our mission statement was. So you really need to know from the beginning who you want to talk to. Firstly, why you're doing this, who you want to talk to, how you want to talk to them, and what you want to achieve. So it says something like, I've always had a love for, well, forget that bit. It says, I founded in Accra on the 8th of the 8th of the 8th. That was the day when the Beijing Olympics started in 2008. The collection has evolved from a t-shirt line to include bags, iPods. The design was, the collection was created during my year and a half stay in Ghana with the aims to capture the true essence of Africa. So I wanted to capture something that was truly African but wasn't cliche. And with our brand, we wanted to design and sell things that really gave a positive outlook to Africa. The first collection was called It's Always Summer in Africa, and that was something which really connected with me. Someone who had, I was born in the UK, I grew up in Ghana, went to the UK for university, and I was like, wow, where I grew up and where I'm from in Ghana, it has so many amazing things. And we have sun all the time. In the UK, they have horrible weather, and that's why we named the brand It's Always Summer in Africa. And it was to show people about the light of Africa. So it says, the first collection says the collection, the theme refers to the gift of eternal sunshine the continent is blessed with. Contrary to the imposed label of the dark continent stamped on Africa, the continent is actually bursting with light, life, beauty, and most importantly, hope. So that was the concept. We had a strong concept from the beginning. With the abundance of color, we created a visual journey through daily African life, ranging from childhood nostalgia, social political issues, music, culture, traditional art, and food. So if you've ever been a fan of KOB, you'd realize that we have certain themes that are recurrent in our designs: food, politics, nostalgia, culture, and just things that make you connect with Africa. And to be honest with you, as the years have gone on and designs have switched from maybe things like this to designs that look very minimalist or look very like off-white type stuff, we've had a crisis where we've like, oh, do we just copy the crowds or do we do something different? And so the question that you're asking, Kofi, how do you target your audience? You really have to start with why you're doing this. Tomorrow's class, we're gonna, look at why we do it, and then once we answer the question of why, we can answer the question of who, what, how, when. We'll be able to answer all those things once we do that question. We answer that question of why. So, Kweku, I hope that answers your question and stuff. YouTube, any more questions before we round up? Today's class is just to let you know that we're going to have the classes for about 2 weeks or more. The classes are going to be on YouTube. If you want to get like the presentations and everything, we're going to post it afterwards on Facebook, and then we're going to also try and live stream on Instagram. But if you like the course, if you look the course details, we've got a link. I'm gonna put in YouTube where you can download all the course materials, the course literatures, all the stuff that you can follow with it. If you would like the course material and you on Instagram, just send me a message. I'll send it to you. Instagram guys, there's only 2 more people on Instagram. Have you guys got any questions? And then YouTube guys, if you guys have got any questions, just let me know before we round up. So it's going to be an interactive class. I'm going to now show you guys the course document so that you have an idea as to, what is going to be, what you're going to see over the next few days, what the course document is going to look like and all that stuff. So if you just give me a second, I'm gonna show you guys, the guys on YouTube. We're gonna show you what that looks like. So, okay, let me just get that for you. Sorry about the delay. It's just I just need to pull up this window. If you're on Instagram, who else is on Instagram? If you're still on Instagram watching, just say hi. Say hi. I'm just okay. That's not the wrong one. Okay, Birago joined. Birago, thanks for joining our class. Okay. The class is on the fashion design class, how to start a fashion brand. That's the class. Okay, great. So if you are on YouTube, you would notice that this is what we're going to go through over the next 2 weeks. If you're on YouTube, we're going to start with tomorrow's class is going to be on. It's called a brand sprint. So we're going to find out why you want to start your brand, what's your 10-year plan, 5-year plan, 20-year plan, and really we're going to do your brand mission tomorrow, and that's going to be tomorrow. And then as we go on, these are the other segments we're going to do. Your target market, who's going to wear your clothing, identifying your market area, knowing your customer inside out, gathering information on your customer, market research. We're going to do the competitor analysis. We're going to do your year plan, so with fashion design, or we work in seasons. I haven't really put myself, fix myself to seasons, simply because as a designer sometimes you might not have money to produce, or having spring, summer, having the seasons, that the European seasons, the worldwide seasons for fashion might not work with you, because some of us are in Africa, so you might want to create your own seasons, but you need to plan ahead, because if you're gonna have a collection for summer, it needs to come way before. If you're gonna do a winter collection, it needs to come way before. You need to put it out there, do the fashion show, do the marketing, and get it out there way before. Hi Dan Latte, Dane Danette, sorry Latte. So yeah, so those are some of the things we'll be working on. Second segment, we're gonna talk about production. What is branding? The elements of a brand, analyzing your brand, identifying your brand's unique selling point. Every brand needs a unique selling point. What makes you different? I can put a T-shirt, an African-inspired brand next to KOB, but KOB will stand out because our unique selling point is African with a twist. We focus on taking African culture, food, politics, putting a twist on it, and then making it accessible to Africans and non-Africans. We're going to talk about how to protect your brand, how to design your logo, how to find your logo, all that stuff. We're going to talk about how to produce your products. Are you going to outsource? Are you going to produce locally in Africa or wherever you are? Are you going to produce in China? How do you find a supplier on Alibaba? How do you find a supplier in India? We're going to talk about all those things. We're going to talk about how to create a sample. Be it a print T-shirt sample or cut and sew sample. We're going to talk about all those stuff. We're going to talk about trademark, protecting your trademark. We're going to talk about how to promote yourself, marketing. You guys are getting, fantastic value, because not only am I a self-taught designer, but I'm also a certified digital marketer, and I run a digital marketing agency called Nkane. So my day job, when I'm not making T-shirts, I helping brands, companies position themselves with imagery, with video, and with digital marketing. So we're going to talk a lot about digital marketing. I started on Facebook groups, and without Facebook, I don't think this brand would be here today. But that same platform has changed over time, and it's quite difficult to reach your audience now. So we'll talk about all those different things that are happening. We'll talk about TikTok. We'll talk about how to promote your brand through Instagram. We'll talk about how to promote your brand on YouTube. Even doing this right now and talking to you guys on Instagram and YouTube, this is a way to promote your brand. So we'll talk about that section, promoting yourself. And if you don't promote yourself, your brand will die. That's just facts. We'll talk about advertising. We'll talk about how to write a press release, building your website. Having an e-commerce platform. We'll talk about Big Cartel. We'll talk about Shopify. We'll talk about if you're in Ghana or if you're in Africa, we'll talk about platforms that you can put on your mobile phone. Aspects. Yo, Nana Kofi, thanks for joining, man. Nana Kofi, Aspects is one of the first people. If you guys on Instagram, he's one of the first people I looked up to when I started, because he had started an African-inspired brand in Canada before I started my brand, and he's one of the first African-inspired streetwear brands out there. And so, if he hadn't started, I wouldn't have probably started, because we all need somebody to do something for us to learn from. And so this class is also to give back to people who also want to learn how to start their brand. So yeah, we'll talk about email marketing over the period, how to create email campaigns in MailChimp, and then also selling your product, how to retail, both online and offline, and how to even find suppliers, people who take your product in other countries. In my time I was selling, I was able to find a supplier in Nigeria, Japan, and Belgium, and that was fantastic, But that wasn't good enough. If you can have 100 suppliers, you do really well. But if you have just 5 or 10, it's still not bad. We'll talk about retail. I used to have a retail shop in Ghana. We'll talk about that. Production management, how to manage your production area, mass producing, all the stuff. It's all in the document. So yeah, over the next 2 weeks, that's what the class is going to be about. So before we finish the class, since it's almost an hour, I think the classes will be just about an hour long. Last questions. Last questions. Some of you guys are quiet. If you've not got any more questions, I think I'm gonna end the class in a bit. But if you've got some questions, how about this class on starting a brand? It could be a fashion brand. So we're talking about clothing, mainly streetwear, because I do t-shirts and print, and um, you know, but the principles that we'll be teaching over the next 2 or 3 weeks would be the same across creating any kind of brand. Your brand might not be a fashion brand, but the principles would apply to you. So if you'd like to join this class, send us a message if you're on Instagram. If you're on Facebook, send us a message. We'll send you the Dropbox where you can get the documents, all the documents in there. Kwame says, Kwame, thank you as always. Over 5 years since our first proper design conversation, I have not looked back. I took away so much. Is now benefiting myself and my agency. Well done. Thanks, Kwame. Kwame wanted to design stuff and he got in touch. And a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, I want to start a brand. I want to start a clothing brand. But a lot of people are not serious. But he took it and then he went way, way before. And I also want to say thank you to him because he came back and showed love years down the line when I didn't even expect it, to say thank you. So I hope that this class will be helpful to somebody. I hope that you would all share the class on YouTube. Go to our YouTube, KOB Clothing, or youtube.com/KAYOBIGH. And please, please, please share it to somebody. We're all on lockdown now. There might be a young person in Lagos, there might be a young person in Nairobi, there might be a young person somewhere who this class could benefit, who could learn something from this and start something that they're passionate about that might change their life. So as we also on lockdown, some of us are privileged enough to be able to do this stuff and still be able to contemplate about what we're going to do after lockdown. But this class is for you, and it's for you to share with other people. Give back. As I'm giving this class for free, give it, share it to other people for free. Please, please, please. I'm not asking for anything. Just support us how you can. Subscribe to our account. If you want to support us, we'll take offering. We eventually will probably put up our PayPal or put up our what's it called? There's this platform that these creative people put. I don't even know what it's called. We'll put up something. If you want to give in kind, we'll take it. But the main thing is not about money. The main thing is that how are you gonna start this thing? How are you gonna start this idea, this dream, this passion, and bring it to reality? And I'm here to help you do that over the next 2 weeks. If you've got any questions, send them in and let's do this. Let's take it to the next level. Let's leave the quarantine and be better. Peace and hair grease. I'm gonna bounce and catch you guys later. Take care. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Next class is tomorrow, 5 p.m. Ghana time, no Ghana man time, GMT Ghana. See you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.